For 2 years, I believed Amanda was the one. We shared a home, our dreams, and I was even saving for a ring. Then one ordinary Tuesday, she looked at me with distant eyes and said, "Monty, I am not ready for something this serious." My world crumbled, but I simply nodded and said, "I understand." 3 months later, after I started dating again, my phone rang. Amanda was sobbing. "I thought you would wait for me to be ready." That moment taught me the most important lesson about self-respect I have ever learned. Before I share this story, let me know where you are watching from in the comments. If my journey through heartbreak and rediscovery resonates with you, hit that like button and subscribe to join our community of real-life storytellers. Trust me, you will want to hear how respecting yourself can change everything. I first met Amanda at my friend Jackson's art gallery opening. She stood before an abstract painting, head tilted slightly, completely absorbed. Something about her intensity drew me in. When our eyes met, she smiled in a way that felt like a private joke between us, though we had never met before. "What do you think the artist was feeling when they created this?" she asked, not bothering with introductions. I looked at the chaotic swirls of blue and gray. Probably the same thing I am right now, a mixture of curiosity and fascination. She laughed, and that was it. We spent the entire evening talking, moving from painting to painting but barely seeing them. Amanda was a graphic designer with a quick wit and opinions on everything. By midnight, when Jackson was ushering out the last guests, we had exchanged numbers and made plans for dinner the following evening. Our first date at Riverside Bistro turned into a 5-hour conversation. We covered our childhoods in different parts of California, our shared love of obscure indie films, and our dreams of traveling to Japan someday. When the restaurant staff began stacking chairs, we reluctantly left, continuing our conversation during a midnight walk along the riverfront. Amanda seemed like everything I had been looking for, passionate about her work, thoughtful with an artistic perspective that complemented my more analytical nature. She talked about previous relationships that had failed because the men could not keep up with her intellectually or wanted to contain her spirit. I remember thinking how lucky I was that she saw me differently. As weeks turned into months, our connection only deepened. We took our first trip together to Big Sur, 3 months in spending days hiking and nights stargazing. When she introduced me to her close friends Taylor and Jasmine, they seemed surprised. "Amanda never brings guys around this quickly." Taylor whispered to me during a bathroom break at dinner, "You must be special." I introduced her to my circle too, and everyone commented on how perfectly we fit together. I was the thoughtful, steady one who planned our adventures while she brought spontaneity and creative energy. Where I was reserved, she was expressive. Where she was impulsive, I provided stability. It seemed like the ideal balance. By our 6-month anniversary, I knew I had found the woman I wanted to build a future with. Amanda appeared to feel the same, often talking about when we get a bigger place or when we go to Tokyo next year. She would randomly text me in the middle of the day with messages like, "Just thinking about how lucky I am to have found you," or "Planning our future in my head right now, and it looks amazing." After we had been together for a year, Amanda suggested we move in together. "Why are we paying for 2 apartments when we spend every night together anyway?" she reasoned. The decision felt natural, even obvious. We found a 2-bedroom apartment in a neighborhood we both loved, using the second bedroom as a shared office space. Once we were living together, our lives became even more intertwined. We opened a joint bank account for household expenses, shared a car, and adopted routines that centered around our relationship. Sunday mornings were for farmers market trips and making brunch together. Wednesday evenings became our dedicated date night to ensure we never took each other for granted. I remember the first time I brought Amanda home to meet my parents. My mother pulled me aside after dinner and said, "This one is special, Monty. Do not let her go." Amanda charmed my entire family, remembering details about their lives and bringing thoughtful gifts. When I met her parents a month later, they welcomed me with equal warmth. Her father took me fishing and talked about how happy Amanda seemed with me. As our 2nd anniversary approached, we began looking at larger apartments. Amanda wanted more space for her design work, and I needed a proper home office as my software development job had become permanently remote. We talked about our future children, agreeing on wanting 2, and debated the merits of public versus private schools. I started setting aside money each month for an engagement ring. I even casually asked her friends about her jewelry preferences. Everything seemed to be moving forward perfectly. There were signs I should have noticed, small comments that in retrospect were warnings. Sometimes after discussing our future, she would grow quiet and say things like, "Does it ever scare you how planned out our lives are?" Or, "Sometimes I wonder what else is out there." I always reassured her that spontaneity and adventure could exist within commitment, and she would smile and agree. But now I realized she was trying to tell me something. Then came that Tuesday in April, a day like any other until it was not. Amanda had been distant for about a week. I had asked several times if everything was okay, and she insisted she was just stressed about a big project at work. I believed her. I came home from the gym to find her sitting on our couch, still in her work clothes, staring at her untouched cup of tea. The moment I saw her face, I knew something was deeply wrong. "We need to talk." She said those 4 words that instantly tighten your chest. I sat beside her, leaving space between us that had never existed before. She would not meet my eyes as she spoke. "Monty, I care about you so much, but I have been doing a lot of thinking, and I am not ready for something this serious." The words hit me like a physical blow. 2 years together, countless conversations about our future apartment hunting, for our next place just the week before, and now this. "What do you mean? Where is this coming from?" I asked, struggling to understand. She finally looked at me, tears streaming down her face. "I feel trapped. Not because of you, but because of how settled everything is. We are 28, and our entire lives are already mapped out. I am not sure if I am ready for that. I need space to figure out who I am outside of us." I asked if this was something we could work through together. Could we take a step back without breaking up entirely? Could we try couples therapy? Could she explain more specifically what was making her feel trapped? Her answers were vague and contradictory. She said she loved me but was not in love with me anymore. She said I was perfect but not perfect for her right now. She said she needed to be alone, but also wanted to see what else was out there. After hours of circular conversation, it became clear her mind was made up. This was not a discussion or a problem to solve together. It was a decision she had already reached. "I understand," I said, though I did not. "Not really." Those were the only words I could manage as my entire world collapsed around me. She packed a bag and left to stay with her friend Taylor for a few days while I processed everything. As soon as the door closed behind her, I broke down completely. The pain was physical, a crushing weight on my chest that made it difficult to breathe. I called in sick to work the next day and barely moved from our bed, surrounded by her scent on the pillows. The week after Amanda left was the worst of my life. I could not sleep, could not eat, could not focus on anything. The apartment we had shared felt both hauntingly empty and suffocatingly full of her presence. Her coffee mug still in the dish rack, her favorite sweater hanging on the bedroom door, the painting we had bought together on our first anniversary still on the wall, now a painful reminder of what I had lost. My best friend Jackson came over regularly, forcing me to eat and listening as I analyzed every moment of our relationship, searching for clues I had missed. "Could it be someone else?" I asked him repeatedly. "I do not think so, man," Jackson would say. "Jasmine says Amanda is a complete mess too. She really seems confused about what she wants." That only made it worse. If she was also devastated, why were we putting ourselves through this pain? The irrational hope that she might change her mind kept me in limbo. Every time my phone buzzed with a text from her asking how I was doing or saying she missed talking to me, my heart would leap before crashing down again. 2 weeks after the breakup, she suggested meeting for coffee to check in. I agreed immediately, shamefully eager. For that hour in the cafe, things almost felt normal between us. She laughed at my jokes, asked about my work, even reached across the table to touch my hand. But when I asked what this meant for us, she pulled back. "I am still figuring things out," she said. "I just miss you as a person." Those mixed signals continued for another 2 weeks. Late-night texts saying she could not sleep because she was thinking about me. A drunk call at 1 in the morning where she said breaking up was maybe a mistake, followed by a sober text the next day, apologizing and saying she was still confused. I was living in a state of suspended animation, unable to move forward, but given just enough hope to prevent me from accepting it was over. The turning point came after a conversation with my father. I had driven to my parents' house for Sunday dinner, mostly to escape the ghost-filled apartment. After the meal, my dad suggested we sit on the porch like we used to when I was growing up and needed to talk. "You know what the hardest part of watching you go through this is?" he asked. I shook my head. Seeing my son, who has always known his own worth, suddenly questioning it because someone else is confused about theirs. His words hit home in a way nothing else had. I had been acting as if Amanda's uncertainty was my failure, as if I could fix things by being patient enough, understanding enough, loving enough. But her indecision was not about my inadequacy. It was about her own journey. That night I texted Amanda asking for a definitive conversation. We met at a park neutral territory. This time I spoke first. "I need to know if there is any chance of us working things out, because waiting in this in-between state is destroying me." She looked down at her hands. "I wish I could give you a clear answer, Monty. I care about you so much, but I still feel like I need to experience more before settling down." For the first time, I heard what she was really saying. It was not that she needed time to be ready for something serious. She needed to see if there was someone better out there before committing to me. I was the safe option, the backup plan. "I understand," I said, and this time I truly did. "But I cannot be your safety net while you figure things out. We need to make a clean break." She started crying, asking if we could still talk sometimes, still be in each other's lives. I gently but firmly explained that would only prolong the pain for both of us. We spent the next weekend separating our lives. I helped her move the last of her things out of the apartment. We divided our shared possessions with surprisingly little conflict. She took the couch, I kept the television. She took the dining set, I kept the bed. The painting we had bought together neither of us wanted. I returned her house key, and she returned mine. Then I did something that felt both terrifying and necessary. I blocked her number and removed her from all my social media accounts. Not out of anger, but as an act of self-preservation. I could not heal if I was constantly checking her Instagram, wondering if she was dating someone new, analyzing her cryptic posts for hidden messages to me. That same week I started therapy. My therapist helped me see patterns in the relationship. I had been blind to how Amanda's fear of missing out had always been present, but I had chosen to ignore it, how I had compromised more than she had, how I had been planning for the future she had never fully committed to. The hardest part was accepting that someone can love you, but still choose to leave you. That being a good partner does not guarantee the relationship will work. That sometimes people simply want different things, and no amount of understanding or patience can bridge that gap. Gradually, day by day, the pain began to lessen. I threw myself into my work, taking on challenging projects that required my full concentration. My boss noticed the quality of my code improving and gave me lead developer responsibilities on a new client project. Having that professional validation helped restore some of the confidence I had lost. I reconnected with friends I had seen less of during my relationship. I joined Jackson and his wife for their weekly trivia nights. I started having regular dinners with my college roommate Paolo, who had recently moved back to town. To get myself out of the apartment and moving physically, I took up rock climbing at an indoor gym. The focus required to solve those vertical puzzles gave my mind a break from constantly replaying the breakup. The physical exertion helped me sleep better at night. My new apartment, which I found about a month after the breakup, became a project. I painted the walls colors Amanda would have hated. I bought furniture that reflected only my taste. I created a space that was entirely mine with no compromises. The weekends were the hardest time, so I started taking solo road trips to places within a few hours' drive that I had always wanted to visit. I hiked in state parks, toured small town museums, and ate at local diners. I took photos not to share with anyone, but simply to document my experiences for myself. One significant step forward was adopting Scout, a 3-year-old mixed-breed dog from the local shelter. Having another living creature dependent on me forced me out of bed on my worst mornings. His uncomplicated affection and endless enthusiasm for walks provided comfort and routine when I needed it most. I also joined a book club at my local library, partly to force myself into new social situations. That first meeting was awkward, as I knew no one and felt out of place, but by the third session, I was actively participating in discussions and looking forward to the monthly gatherings. About 2 months after the breakup, I realized I had gone an entire day without thinking about Amanda. The revelation came as I was walking Scout before bed. I felt a wave of relief so profound, I actually stopped walking and sat down on a nearby bench. Scout looked at me quizzically, but seemed content to take a break too. That small victory gave me hope that eventually I might go a whole week, then a whole month, without her being the center of my thoughts. Instead of focusing on the relationship I had lost, I began setting personal goals, unrelated to dating. I signed up for a half marathon, something I had always wanted to do but had put off. I enrolled in an advanced coding certification program. I started learning Japanese, rekindling the dream of visiting Tokyo that I had once shared with Amanda, but now claimed as my own. 3 months after the breakup, my therapist suggested I might be ready to consider dating again. The idea terrified me. The thought of being vulnerable with someone new, of risking another heartbreak, seemed impossible. But she gently pointed out that avoiding connection indefinitely was letting my experience with Amanda define my future. You do not have to be looking for anything serious, she advised. Just start practicing being open to possibilities again. My first attempt was a disaster. Jackson and his wife convinced me to meet a woman who worked in their office. She was nice enough, but we had absolutely nothing in common, and the coffee date featured long stretches of painful silence. I left feeling worse than before, convinced I had lost whatever ability I once had to connect with someone new. A week later, Paolo persuaded me to create profiles on a couple of dating apps. I agonized over what photos to use and what to write in my bio. Everything seemed either too desperate or too guarded. The whole process made me feel inauthentic, like I was marketing myself as a product, rather than a person still healing from heartbreak. I went on a few app dates that ranged from mediocre to mildly pleasant, but nothing clicked. I was about ready to delete the apps and accept that maybe I needed more time when life intervened in an unexpected way. I had been rock climbing at my gym for about 2 months by this point, usually keeping to myself. One Tuesday evening, the gym was running a partner climbing event where you were randomly paired with another climber. I almost left when I saw the crowd gathering, but my newfound commitment to pushing myself out of my comfort zone made me stay. My randomly assigned partner was Sophia, a physical therapist who had been climbing for years. She was patient with my relative inexperience, but did not hesitate to challenge me on routes I thought were beyond my ability. By the end of the 2-hour session, I had climbed higher and harder than I ever had before. "Good job today," she said, as we were untying our harnesses. "Same time next week?" It was so casual, so without pressure, that I agreed immediately. We exchanged numbers for climbing purposes, and I left the gym feeling energized in a way I had not experienced in months. Our Tuesday climbing sessions became a regular thing. We would grab dinner afterward, conversations flowing easily from climbing techniques to our jobs to favorite books and movies. Sophia was straightforward in a refreshing way. When she thought something, she said it. When she had a question, she asked it. After our 4th climbing session, as we were eating burgers at the dive bar next to the gym, she looked at me directly and said, "I really enjoy spending time with you, Monty, but I get the sense there is something you are not telling me." I hesitated, then decided honesty was the best approach. I told her about Amanda, the breakup, and my ongoing healing process. I expected her to make an excuse and leave, but instead she thanked me for being transparent. "Everyone has a history," she said simply. "I appreciate knowing where you are at. For what it is worth, I think you are doing all the right things to move forward." When she asked if I would like to go hiking that weekend, specifically framing it as a date, I surprised myself by saying yes, without hesitation. Our first official date was to a trail in the mountains about an hour outside the city. The day was clear and cool, perfect for hiking. What struck me most was how comfortable I felt with Sophia. There was none of the game playing or second-guessing that had sometimes characterized my early relationship with Amanda. When Sophia said something, I knew she meant it. When she asked a question, it was because she genuinely wanted to know the answer, not because she was testing me. At the summit, looking out over the valley below, I felt a pang of guilt when I realized I was genuinely enjoying myself. Sophia noticed my expression change and asked what I was thinking. "I guess I feel guilty for being happy," I admitted. "Like I am betraying what Amanda and I had." "Moving forward with your life is not a betrayal," Sophia said. It is a necessity. The alternative is staying stuck, and that does not honor either of you. Her perspective was so clear, so rational, that it cut through the emotional fog I had been living in. Over the next few weeks, as we continued dating, I found myself thinking about Amanda less and less. Sophia and I established open communication from the beginning. She was clear about wanting a committed relationship eventually, but also understood that I was still processing my previous experience. "I am not in a rush," she told me one evening, as we cooked dinner together at my place. "I just know what I want, and I think it is important to be honest about that from the start." Her certainty about her own desires was a stark contrast to Amanda's constant wavering. Where Amanda had feared being trapped by commitment, Sophia saw commitment as a choice that opened up possibilities rather than limiting them. It was a completely different mindset, and it made me realize how much anxiety Amanda's uncertainty had caused me even before the breakup. As our relationship developed, I introduced Sophia to my friends. They were understandably cautious at first, worried it was too soon. But after spending time with us, Jackson pulled me aside and said, "This is completely different from you and Amanda. You seem relaxed with her in a way you never were before." I knew he was right. With Sophia, I never felt like I was walking on eggshells. Never worried that one wrong move would make her question our entire relationship. We disagreed sometimes, of course, but those disagreements never felt like threats to our connection. About 3 months into dating Sophia, I realized something profound. I was actually happier than I had been with Amanda, even during the good times. Not because Sophia was better than Amanda in some objective way, but because we were more compatible in our fundamental values and expectations. My career was flourishing too. The project I had thrown myself into after the breakup had been so successful that I was promoted to senior developer with a substantial raise. It felt like all aspects of my life were finally aligning. Then came the call that threatened to derail everything. I was at home one evening working on my laptop while Sophia was reading beside me. Scout curled up at our feet. The domestic tranquility of the moment was interrupted by my phone ringing. The number was unfamiliar, but something made me answer instead of letting it go to voicemail. "Monty, it is Amanda." My heart stopped. Sophia looked up from her book, noticing my expression. I mouthed Amanda to her, and she nodded, getting up to give me privacy. I almost asked her to stay, but decided this was a conversation I needed to have alone. "Amanda, why are you calling?" "I thought we agreed to go our separate ways." I know. Her voice was thick with tears. "But I just found out from Taylor that you are dating someone new. Someone from your climbing gym." I closed my eyes, trying to center myself. Of course, our social circles would still overlap. Of course, information would get back to her. "Yes, I am. Her name is Sophia." "How could you move on so quickly?" she demanded, her voice rising. "I thought you would wait for me to be ready. I thought you understood." The accusation left me speechless for a moment. Wait for her? After she had explicitly ended our relationship. After months of no contact. "Amanda, you broke up with me," I said, keeping my voice as calm as possible. "You said you were not ready for something serious and needed to figure things out on your own. You never said anything about me waiting. But you said you understood," she cried. "I thought that meant you would be there when I figured things out. I have been going to therapy, working on myself. I was doing it for us, Monty. And now I find out you have just replaced me." I felt a flash of anger that I immediately tried to temper. "That is not fair. You cannot end our relationship, tell me you need to see what else is out there, and then be upset when I do the same thing. So this is revenge. You are dating someone to get back at me." "No," I said firmly. "This has nothing to do with you. I met someone who knows what she wants, who communicates clearly, and who chooses me actively every day. I am not putting my life on hold for someone who could not decide if I was worth choosing." She was openly sobbing now. "I made a mistake, Monty. I see that now. Seeing you with someone else made me realize what I threw away. We can fix this. I am ready now." 3 months earlier, those words would have been everything I wanted to hear. Now they just made me sad for both of us. Sad that she had only decided she wanted me when she thought she could not have me. Sad that it had taken me losing her to realize I deserved more certainty than she had ever offered. "I am sorry, Amanda, but there is nothing to fix," I said gently. "When you said you were not ready, I accepted that. When you ended things, I respected your decision, even though it was not what I wanted. I cannot go backwards, and frankly, I do not want to." "You have changed," she said accusingly. "The Monty I knew would have fought for us." "The Monty you knew did fight for us," I replied. "I suggested couples therapy. I offered to work through your doubts together. I asked for clear communication about what you needed. You chose to walk away instead. I have changed, yes, but only because I had to in order to move forward. So that is it. 2 years together means nothing to you." The tears had given way to anger now. Our relationship meant everything to me, Amanda. That is why I refused to be your backup plan. That is why I had to let you go completely instead of living in limbo. I wish you well, I really do. But we both need to move on. After a few more minutes of her alternating between pleading and accusing, I gently but firmly ended the call, promising this would be our last conversation for both our sakes. That call with Amanda proved to be an unexpected gift. It was the final piece I needed to fully close that chapter of my life. Any lingering doubts I had about whether I had given up too easily or moved on too quickly were laid to rest by her reaction. She had not wanted me back until I was unavailable, had not valued what we had until it was gone. When I returned to the living room, Sophia was pretending to read but clearly waiting to see if I was okay. I sat down beside her and told her everything about the call, holding nothing back. Her response only confirmed that I was with the right person. "That must have been difficult," she said, taking my hand. "Are you all right?" No accusations, no insecurity, just genuine concern for my well-being. I assured her that I was fine, better than fine, actually. The conversation had given me closure I had not realized I still needed. "I want you to know," I told her, "that I am with you, because I choose to be, not because you are a replacement or a rebound. What we are building is its own thing, separate from my past." She smiled. "I know that, Monty. I have never doubted it." In the 6 months since that night, my relationship with Sophia has continued to grow naturally and healthily. We still climb together every Tuesday, now joined by Scout, who waits patiently at the base of the climbing wall. We have taken weekend trips to nearby states, cooked countless meals in my kitchen, and spent hours talking about everything and nothing. What I value most about our relationship is its fundamental honesty. Sophia does not play games or send mixed signals. When she is upset, she says so. When she is happy, she shows it. There is a freedom in that straightforwardness that I never experienced with Amanda. Looking back on the whole experience now, I can see that the breakup, painful as it was necessary for both Amanda and me. We wanted different things but were too comfortable to admit it. She needed to explore options and possibilities. I needed someone who was certain about choosing me. Neither of us was wrong, just wrong for each other at that point in our lives. The journey from heartbreak to healing was not linear. There were days, even months after the breakup, when grief would hit me unexpectedly. There were moments of doubt, anger, and sadness. But each of those emotions taught me something valuable about myself, about what I need in a relationship, and about the kind of partner I want to be. The most important lesson I learned was about self-respect. When Amanda said she was not ready, and I said I understand, I should have added, and I respect myself too much to wait indefinitely for someone who is uncertain about me. Understanding someone else's needs does not mean sacrificing your own. Empathy does not require self-erasure. If you are going through something similar right now, please know that the pain is temporary, but the growth is permanent. The person who walks away from you is making space for someone who will choose to stay. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do for both yourself and the person who left is to let them go completely. Have you ever had someone expect you to put your life on hold while they figured things out? Or have you found greater happiness after a painful breakup? Share your experiences in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe for more real-life journeys and lessons. Your support helps me continue sharing these stories that remind us we are never alone in our struggles. Thank you for listening, and remember, respecting yourself is the foundation of every healthy relationship you will ever have.